In this segment of your academic service learning orientation, we're going to talk about some core competencies that will help you to be successful in your service. The first core competency that we're going to take a look at is professionalism. It's important that you recognize when you're out in the community doing your service work, you're a representative of Grand Rapids Community College. The people that you're working with in the community are going to be looking at you as a colleague or a peer, not necessarily as a student. So it's important that you're careful to dress appropriately, speak as a professional, and make certain that you respect the schedule. If you've made a commitment to be at our community partner, to do your service work, it's critically important that you uphold that responsibility. If for some unforeseen reason you have to miss a commitment, it's vital that you treat that just as you would as a professional in the field, and make sure to allow the community partner as much notice as possible. We have here in the bottom left-hand corner a link that you can click on that will take you to some additional services or web pages, or in some cases even an interactive website to teach you more about the topic that we're discussing. In this case, we have a few links for you. One is our Grand Rapids Community College Counseling Center provides some workshops you might find useful in developing your professional skills. Then we have a couple of other websites that are very helpful in helping you to understand the types of items that fall into the scope of professionalism. Next, we're going to take a look at confidentiality. Again, in a professional setting, confidentiality is critical. You're going to be privy to some information that's considered sensitive, and confidentiality and protection of the rights of the program participants is your responsibility. And at this point in your career, it's important for you to start to understand just how important it is to respect the privacy of others. Again, we have a web link for you at the bottom of the page. You'll see the Academic Service Learning Center's confidentiality agreement. And then we also have a general legal website that helps you understand the importance of keeping confidence when you're working in the human service field. The next core competency we're going to take a look at is risk management. It's critically important that you follow the organizational policy of a community partner. As a college, we also have some guidelines that we would like you to abide by. We ask that you never transport program participants or colleagues at the community partner in your personal vehicles. We think that this puts you at undue risk. Additionally, make sure that you understand the scope of your role with a community partner, and don't act beyond the scope of your role. So if you're mentoring students and a student shares with you a situation of domestic violence in the home, it's appropriate for you to report that to the site supervisor, to your professor, and to the Academic Service Learning Center. What's inappropriate for you to do is to then engage in a lengthy discussion with that individual about the domestic violence, or talk to that individual about how they feel. Those are beyond the scope of your role. So it's important that you're able to recognize, what is it that I'm here to do? What is it that I'm trying to do effectively? And don't go beyond the scope of that role, because that will put you at risk. Additionally, you want to make sure that you're comfortable personally with what's being asked of you at the community partner. If, for example, a community partner asks you to climb up a ladder and hang an ornament or a decoration, and you didn't feel comfortable doing that, you certainly have the right to decline. Again, we have a web link for you to learn a little bit more about risk management. Here are 3 different links. One I'd like to point out is the Volunteer Protection Act. And the Volunteer Protection Act is designed to protect volunteers from unnecessary risk and liability. You should know that you will be protected by the Volunteer Protection Act unless you're acting in a clearly negligent way. Next, we're going to take a look at time management. Time management is important not just for your service work, but for your life in general. And it's important that you know yourself and know what are my strengths and weaknesses, what's my optimal time of day. Try to take on the difficult task during your high performance period and save some mundane tasks to do during your natural lull in the day. We all have different rhythms and cycles, and it's just important to know what works best for you. When we're looking at time management, I have personally found a system where I think about overall goals, and then beneath each of those goals, I typically have several objectives. These are the processes that it will take for me to achieve my higher goal. Then underneath each of those objectives, I have smaller action steps. And those are the items that you just sort of cross off as you go through. You cross off those action steps to accomplish the objectives, which ultimately lead you to your goal. It's also important that you maintain a daily schedule. So the daily schedule is sort of like a calendar of what you're going to do that day. What are your tasks and priorities for that specific day? You should always be deriving your daily schedule from the bigger picture. So you've got your goals and objectives and action steps. And then each day, when you construct your daily schedule, you look at your action steps and you say, which of these items could I get done today? And this way you're able to work on several different objectives and several different goals without losing sight of your work. So it's really important that you use that daily planner or daily calendar to manage the work that you're going to produce in that day, but also to refer back to your bigger picture. It's also important that you refrain from multitasking, and I know that seems counterintuitive, but research has shown that those who multitask actually get less work done. It seems that our brains are just not quite wired to send text messages and talk on the phone and answer emails and all of that simultaneously. And so cut yourself some slack and focus on one job that's before you and give 100% of your time and attention to doing a good job as opposed to sort of skimming through many different tasks. Again, we have a web link for you in the bottom left-hand corner, and there are some very great resources here. Some that will help you to understand the principles of effective time management. One is actually an interactive web page that helps you to identify what you're doing with your time and where you might be able to save time. Okay, let's see here. Next, we're going to talk about diversity. And diversity we're talking about diversity in terms of all variables. Diversity across disabilities, looks, weight, height, skill sets, cultural backgrounds, all kinds of factors that we look at can either separate us or bring us together. We live in a very diverse society. Grand Rapids Community College is a very diverse college. We have tremendous potential to tap into that diversity, to do positive things. And in our academic service learning and in our classrooms, that's exactly what we want to do. We really want to utilize strength that comes from diversity. If you think about it for a minute, teams that you've been on that have had the most diversity have probably produced the best results. That's because each of us has a different schema. And when we come together as a team and tap into the strengths across our diverse teammates, we really create the best end product. Again, we've got a web link for you. The Cultural Competence series is a YouTube series that helps you to understand the scope of diversity and the strength that diversity can bring to the work that you do and to your life in general. So if we look at these core competencies and bring them all together in focus of doing our academic service learning work, we can be much more successful.